All right, you should have a piece of paper handy, and I'm going to have you draw the diagram here. Now, one reason this is extra super special important is because this diagram, you're going to see it in the questions to follow, but you're also going to have to be able to identify the phases from a diagram like this for the test. Okay, so couple of the test questions at least, for sure, maybe more than two, maybe a lot of them are going to be from this very diagram. So make sure you draw this. I am going to let you use it on the test. Oh, by the way, the test should happen right a little bit before Christmas. Okay, so in the middle, we have Earth. So that circle is Earth. How do you know it's Earth? Well, let's make it look like Earth. Okay, here's North America, here's Africa. So bingo, it's Earth. All right, that doesn't look like Earth. Well, there's this interesting thing, these magic runes, these shapes you can put, these abstract shapes you can put right next to it, and suddenly it looks like Earth. Look at that! That's magic. Those shapes suddenly make this circle look like it's Earth. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so what we're going to have now is a diagram showing the new moon, full moon kind of thing, okay? Let's start it over on this side here, I think. Would that be the right side to start it on, or should we start it over here? Let's then make it where the sun's over here, because this will match the picture you were looking at just a minute ago. I could do it from either direction, really. But here's the sunlight, okay? So the sunlight is coming from this direction. All right. Now, when the moon and the Earth are lined up in direct line with the sun, it would be in this position right here. Okay? Now, the scale isn't right. The distance isn't right. I made it a little smaller, but it's still not, it's still, oh, well, whatever. Okay. Now, if the sunlight's come from this side, and it would be in a shadow like that, right? Well, what would we see from Earth? We would see nothing. It would be in shadow. Plus, that's where the sun would be during the day. You'd be looking right at the sun. Now, if they're actually totally lined up and the moon was covering the sun from our perspective, that's what's called a solar eclipse. Usually, they don't line up that perfectly. So, what we have here then is a new moon. Okay, new moon. Now, as the moon goes along in the course, it takes about a few days, kind of like this. And what happens here now, we're going from new moon. What we would see, the moon, of course, is always going to be lit. It's always the same side facing us, but the shadow is kind of moving because the angle is different that we're looking at. And so what we'll see here is just the side of it lit to the right, so it'll be a crescent shape. Okay, it's getting bigger, bigger, bigger. That crescent's getting larger and larger, so that would be waxing crescent. Okay, so the waxing crescent is what we got at this point in the cycle. Now, when it comes to a 90-degree angle, half of it's lit. Now, the moon, half of it is in the sunlight at all times, right? So what we have here, we would see the right side from our perspective on Earth. The right side would be lit half and half, and the left side would be in shadow. Now, I made kind of crummy drawing there. I made my shadow too big. But this would be called first quarter. It's called a quarter because it's a quarter of the way around the cycle. Although that is kind of, why isn't the full moon called the half moon? Well, I don't know. It is a little confusing. The first quarter. Okay. New moon, waxing crescent, first quarter. What comes next? As it's going along. Now, the moon, half of it is lit and half of it is in darkness. What we would see from Earth perspective, most of what we see would be lit. So it would be more than half lit. So that would be a gibbous shape, but it's still getting bigger, bigger, bigger. So it's called waxing gibbous. Okay, I love that name, gibbous. And, you can always impress your, parents or something if you're walking along and you see lit from the side, but more than lit from the right side, but more than half of it is lit. Oh, look, it's a waxing gibbous moon. And your mom will be going, whoa, you're so smart. Maybe we'll have to save money for college. Okay, so now what happens is it's lit from the sunlight on this side. And so from Earth's perspective, everything we see is lit up, right? And so that would be what's called a full moon. Full moon. Okay, and now something else about this. If the Earth's shadow was covering it, that would be a lunar eclipse. Most of the time, the moon kind of skims over or underneath the Earth's shadow, so we don't see it. It does happen about twice a year, though. Okay, so it keeps on going on its trip. Now what's going on is we still see more than half of it lit up from Earth's perspective, but it's getting smaller and smaller. So that wouldn't be a waxing gibbous. What is it? Waning gibbous. Oops. So the waning gibbous. And then as it's going along, by the way, it isn't directly at 45 degrees that it's the only time it's, the gibbous. It's a waning gibbous all the way through until it gets to the quarter. And now what we would see from our perspective turned around, we'd see it lit from the left, but it's the 3/4 of the way around the cycle, so it's called the third quarter. Third quarter. Okay, again, it all has to do with the angle of the Earth to the moon and the sun. Okay, and then what we have when it's here, and it takes about 28.5 days. One thing that's kind of interesting about that is that the Earth will move in its orbit too, so it's not exactly. Okay, so third quarter, and then this would be called what? It's not the waxing crescent, it's the what? Waning crescent. Okay, so you can use this kind of to study, because you're about to do a chant where you start new moon, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, third quarter, waning crescent. And this thing about chanting it out, it will really help you learn it. If you can memorize the chant, you will know it for the rest of your life, what the phases are, okay? And that's called learning. So please do it, and I'm going to have you record yourself doing that chant in the next little segment. Okie doke.